when we first spoke about this, it was very interesting for me because I recently, retired from running the state trade program, the STEP program in California. And during that time, I participated and helped to lead about 25 different trade missions to Hong Kong. So all of the comments that I've seen from the previous presenters, it's all true. Hong Kong is a wonderful platform for entering and serving and expanding throughout Asia. And the company I'm with now, Ant Group, we are tied into that whole big e-commerce ecosystem that everybody's talking about, including Tmall. We're an Alibaba affiliate, and Lazada, which is also owned by the Alibaba Group. We provide the payment technologies. But I'm really excited because I think that finally these markets are now opening back up, and so it's a really good time to start looking at developing your business through there. Yeah, just quickly, just something quick about Ant Group. I don't want to make this a commercial, but we started out as part of Alibaba, and Alibaba had a solution called Alipay, which is what they call financial technologies or fintech. And the reason Alipay was developed is because back then, when e-commerce was just taking off, and even today, credit cards have a very low penetration rate in Asia. And so they need to find a solution to connect consumers to consumers on the Taobao platform at Alibaba, but also through the Tmall connection. And then there's literally hundreds of different fintech solutions that serve this region of the world, or what we call many different e-wallets. So that's the type of business that we're in. It is what they call the last mile, which the important part about the last mile is you need to be able to reach and serve those customers. And you can reach them with your message, but the service part is being able to provide the methods by which they can receive the goods and pay for them. And in the fintech area, it's important to point out that if you haven't noticed it, I've noticed it. I always interview people when I go to the grocery store or anywhere else, how many transactions are in cash anymore. It's shrunk down to probably 1 in maybe 3 in 10 just at a regular checkout stand here in the US. In Asia, it's even more acute. In fact, I think that right now there's around more than 70% of all transactions are handled through an e-wallet or mobile payment. And that market is expected to hit 2.6 billion consumers in Asia will be using mobile and e-wallets by 2025. So one of the necessary or critical resources, once again, is to be able to plug into all of these marketplaces around the world and be able to collect funds from those marketplaces so you can bring them back and put them into your bank account. The consumers in these markets are paying in their own currencies, which is a little bit different for B2B transactions where a lot of US companies price in US dollars. Well, they don't have US dollars in their wallets. So they need to pay in their local currencies, and you need a system that can accommodate that. They can, translate all those currencies into US dollars and put them back into your bank account after you've made the sales. So looking at the fintech, what it does is it solves a number of unique problems. Once again, I said it makes a connection to the consumer. And on the left-hand side, looking at this schematic here, you'll see what I've done on the consumer side is I've listed down all of the popular e-wallets. And our company, Ant Group, we have integrations with all of those e-wallets throughout more or less Southeast Asia. I think we have integrations with all of those e-wallets. So if somebody has an Alipay or one of our functions, they can simply, as a consumer, they can just use True Money when they're in Thailand, for example, or PayPay or Kakao Pay in Korea, PayPay in Japan. Nonetheless, these fintech solutions, what they do is allow you to collect the money from your customers, allow you to split payments, which sometimes is necessary depending upon your setup. You may need to split payments to pay influencers. Maybe they get a share of the take on your sale. You might have to pay tax authorities in different markets, and need to have the ability to pay those in the local currency, which these type of fintech solutions like ours help to enable that capability. Anyway, the consumer, when they go through the marketplace, they go through a payment gateway, and that payment gateway just says, yeah, that's good, they have enough money. And then they settle the transaction with the marketplace. And then our solution, in our case, we use Zyla in the United States, a sister of Alipay, if you will. But we have to have a system that applies to U.S. sellers, where all of the data and all of the information is stored exclusively in the United States, because data protection and all the rules and regulations for money transfer require a lot of security and a lot of safety backups. So we provide that in the United States under the Zyla brand, but what we're able to do is plug into Asia, and not only for collecting the payments, but also into the ecosystems of e-commerce that Josh has arranged all these wonderful speakers to talk about. Nonetheless, what happens is the consumer purchases your product, and depending on how you are have things set up, if you're just starting out, you're probably using a 3PL here in the United States. It's consolidating and then shipping abroad. If you have enough business to warrant it, you can position your product in the actual market, and that's where that's where the link with Hong Kong becomes very interesting, because Hong Kong is a huge cross-border facilitator for Southeast Asia into China. Lazada, which is one of the leading ones in Southeast Asia, they don't have a cross-border function with the United States yet, but they do have one out of Hong Kong. And once again, the logistics services in Hong Kong are, I would say, amongst the best in the world. In terms of package delivery, efficiency, information flow, all of those issues, Hong Kong performs that tremendously well. This is just a quick overview into how the payment system works. I don't have a lot of time to dive into the individual details. And then I guess, go ahead, John.
Yeah, Jeff, this is awesome. And I just want to distill this down for folks who are kind of already overwhelmed with everything we've talked about so far. It's really cool because you're saying there's local payment kind of gateways or local payment solutions or wallets that consumers can pay in all these different localized forms. But my understanding is then you can transact as if you're a local entity without setting anything up using Zyla. Yes. And that gives, And then that also reduces, for example, you talked about repatriating funds, but before you do that, you can actually keep your funds over there to pay service providers like influencers and others. And therefore, You're actually avoiding the FX rates or the FX conversions.
Yeah, that's a great point. So one of the challenges for a small company is their ability to do what Josh is referring to as cash management. It's very difficult to open an account overseas for a small company or any company. Opening up bank accounts is not an easy task these days. But what our company can do under the Zyla brand, and we have other companies like Payoneer they're also strong in this area as well, is the ability to hold funds in 10 different currencies, which is essentially we can have funds held in Hong Kong, in the UK, in China, in Japan, Korea, and Australia, and so forth. And what this allows you to do is if you do have both customers and suppliers or partners in the same market, then you have effectively created a natural hedge on the currency. So Josh is right. Like, you avoid having to bring money back, lose money on the exchange rate, and then send it back out and lose the second time. And when you're doing that, you're paying like, between 5 and 6% of your revenues going towards FX transactions. If you don't have to do that, you're saving 5 to 6%. And so there's a lot of opportunities to increase your margin using financial technology services like ours and our competitors.
That's awesome. Yeah. Again, if you're still doing old school banking in that way, where this is really something you should be moving toward. Again, also for the time, as Jeff was talking about, the time to get your money back is great. Your local bank getting hit with that additional FX, and poor FX rates, because I presume Zyla manages and negotiates much better FX rates than individuals can do. Is that accurate?
That's accurate. I mean, and this is not, the banks perform a very important function, and they perform great service, but a lot of smaller banks or a lot of banks are not really paying as much attention to the FX rate. That's one of our key advantages. On a typical FX transaction, we're paying 70. We are essentially providing that for 75 basis points over the mid rate. Your typical transaction can be anywhere between 200 and 300 basis points when you're working off of FX. So there are groups of companies like ours that offer much more competitive FX, and so just to close out, because I know we're short on time, given the developments over the past couple of weeks, but we always should be thinking about this.
Yeah.
It's really important to be safe and secure with any of your financial decisions, and particularly the companies that you plan to work with. And so I think it just makes common sense just to make sure you check out who you're going to do business with and make sure that they're strong and secure and safe. And that's kind of what we're offering. But I'm very fascinated with this whole cross-border business, and I'd welcome the opportunity to connect with you and discuss any of your cross-border needs, because what we do goes beyond the payments, because we are tied into the ecosystems, which can present some opportunities. So thank you very much, Josh.
Jeff, thanks so much. Before you go, we do have a question for you, but also I posted here right in the portal, email address for Jeff, information right there. And Jeff, again, as he talked about, has been living in the cross-border space as well, beyond Zyla, and always a great resource. The grant that he mentioned, the STEP grant that he used to manage for California, there's a whole module, I'll point it out later, that you can go in and watch a video and look at slides to see if you apply. There's a question though. Do you offer the consumer protection for a collection of payments the same way a credit card would, or how does it even work? Is that...
we don't directly, the marketplace will. The marketplace intervenes in that area. And I believe even if you have a credit card and you use a credit card payment system through the marketplace, you're still going to encounter the same issue. It's up to the marketplace terms and conditions on returns, and also the seller, because I believe that one of our guests, she asked about that. That is one of the big challenges with cross-border e-commerce, is that returns, depending on your product category, can become a very big issue. And so you need to have strategies on how to manage returns. Some sellers simply will not accept returns if they're cross-border trade, and they'll point that out, when somebody goes to purchase their product or goes through the checkout. That's not very good for the brand. But again, those things are resolved through the marketplace for us and for the credit cards as well.
Great. And you also service for, if you're selling off your own website, I presume, as well.
So our capabilities go beyond just the marketplace. We facilitate B2B transactions. So companies are importing raw components. They still have to pay somebody overseas. And our system works just like a bank account. You put money in, you pay them, or they pay you, and you take it out. No fees for the money in and out. It's just a service enhancer.
That's actually really cool. So again, B2B companies, you can actually get better FX rates, better terms, better all around using a Zyla solution. Okay.
And one of the things that's real interesting is what we call ledger to ledger payments. If we have people on with Ant Group on both sides, like in China and US, the fund transfer is immediate.
Wow.
Seconds. You don't have to wait days, and weekends doesn't matter.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's cool, especially Zyla has such an infrastructure in Asia. A lot of the companies, I presume that if you're doing business in Asia that you work with probably do have some engagement with your properties,
Yes.
let's say Alibaba properties. So, okay.
Yes.
Very cool. J.Williamson
Thank
from
you very
Zyla.
much.
Thank you
Appreciate
so
it.
much.
Thank you,
We'll
Josh.
see you soon.